Okay, let's go. We're talking about bishops. To have strong bishops, you need to avoid blocking them in by your own pawns. You need them on the outside of your pawn chain. Like, for example, a common beginner mistake is to do something like this. You know, you want to develop this bishop, but this bishop's now kind of limited. So you don't want the bishop blocked by your own pawn chain. So that's what I like about the London opening is both your bishops are awesome. And they both get on to open diagonals. Let's look at the London opening quick here. Okay, so right off the bat, White's bringing his bishop out before blocking it with this pawn. So White brings his bishop out, Black does a move, and now White does that. See? See the difference? Bishop blocked in by its own pawn right here. Look at outside the pawn chain. This bishop is excellent now. And Black does something. Look at Black blocks in his own bishop now. Look at the difference between the queen bishops. White's active, Black's kind of shut in. Okay. And White goes, Black. White sets up the pyramid, or I like to call it the spearhead in the London. Say Black castles. Knight comes out, the other knight comes out. And then White's developing his bishop. Look at this guy. Look at how superhuman this bishop is. This bishop is so good is because all the pawns are on the dark squares. Look how good this bishop is. And this bishop is still good because it's on the outside of the pawn chain, so it also is effective. So say Black makes a move. Okay, just look at the position right now. Look at the bishops even. We just talked about how effective White's bishops are. Black's, this one doesn't even have a move right now. This one, look at this one also doesn't have a move. It can't even go here because of your nicely developed bishop on f4. I know Double likes to block in his own bishops with e3 and e6. I'm steady on him not to do that. Yes, very good. Okay, so now we'll talk about bad bishops versus good bishops. When you have a bad bishop, it's when the pawns get locked onto the same color as your bishop. It's on a white square. Your pawns are locked here. These aren't moving. So your bishop is bad. So what you got to do is you have to figure out a way to make it unbad. So if you look at White's bishop, this White is like superstar. Look at this bishop. So Black figures out an interesting plan. He plays b6. He has the idea of going here, which would not only exchange off his bad bishop, but it would get rid of White's super sniper bishop. So that's a very good plan. This is from a structure from the French defense, and you see Black do this all the time, because in the French defense, the queen bishop is usually garbage. So that you need to figure it out. If that's your plan, you need to figure out the best possible way to get rid of your bad bishop. Even if, say, this is here, oh, we'll go like this. Even if you go like this and take your bad bishop and even exchange it for a knight, just get rid of it. There, you don't have the headache anymore, and the game continues. Anyway, in this position, knight's like when the position is blocked. So when your bishop isn't that great, it's blocked in by your own pawn, but the pawn isn't here completely blocking it, so it's not a completely bad bishop. If your pawn still has mobility, what you want to do is you want to break it free, because right now it has one square to move to, so it's like wants to get out. And in this position, since you control e5 more than White does, you can play the pawn to e5 safely. And now let's just show you, just in case. Knight take pawn, knight take knight, bishop take knight. Okay, in the new position, Black's bishop has been set free by the pawn break e5. And Black's bishops are looking fantastic. If you can get this kind of ending with a bishop versus a knight and an open board, you'll have a much easier time than Black here. This isn't necessarily one for white, but I'd sooner be the white position with the high-flying bishop and versus the short-winded knight in an open board like this. In the endgame, when there's a blocked position, the knight is superior to the bishop. So you want to avoid going into a block pawn chain when you have the bishop versus a knight, especially here. Most of the pawns are locked on. White doesn't really have a way to get the bishop outside the pawn chain effectively. So yeah, avoid blocked positions if you have the bishop versus the enemy knight.
Tell him about bishops of opposite color.
Yes, when bishops are on the opposite color squares, they can never meet each other. They're on the different color squares. So black in this position is down 2 pawns, but he has good drawing chances because this bishop can sometimes set up a nice blockade against these pawns, and then they can never get anywhere. For example, if white goes here, advancing his structure, well, black can put his bishop there, and now king here. Now there's no way to make progress. These 2 squares are controlled. This bishop can never kick any of these out, and this king can't really do anything. If the bishop just walks away, he can never push check. So that's an interesting drawing motif. If you can, if you're down material, if you can get bishops of opposite colors, you have good drawing chances in the ending. Bishops of opposite colors having drawing tendencies is not applicable if queens are still on. If anything, both sides have incredible attacking chances because these bishops can never challenge each other. So it's like you're being up a piece in your attack. For example, in a similar position against a stronger player, I offered white a draw here because I'm thinking, well, opposite bishops. He declined the draw, dropped his queen there. Now he's threatening mate, and there's nothing I can do about it. I have no defense. I have no counterattack. Perhaps if this bishop was on the same color as this bishop, I could guard the weakened b6 square with it, but I can't. And then after the game he says, yes, bishops of opposite colors do have drawing tendencies, but when queens are on, both sides get incredible attacking chances.
Tell them about the effective way you can develop your bishop via fianchetto. Fianchetto, it's called, not fianchetto. Fianchetto.
Shut up. Okay. Yes. There's a way you can develop your bishop. I like to do it when I'm black. So, say white does his opening, I put the knight here, say the other knight. You can put your bishop here. First you move your pawn to g6, and then you want to put the bishop here. This is a very effective place to put your bishop. It acts like a sniper. It's hiding behind your pawns here. You can't really get at this bishop, and it's developed. It's perfect. Just, in the future, don't start putting your pawns in front of it. Don't do that. So you go like that. Let's just let white do some moves here. Oh, black goes here, and then white makes the mistake. He shuts in his bishop because he's kind of newer player. He doesn't understand. Black goes like this, there. Okay, so let's have both sides castle. Okay, and then black goes here. It doesn't matter at the moment, I guess. White can go here. So let's look at the bishops. So you look at these bishops, and this one stinks. It's not a block pawn chain, so it has potential if you could liberate it with that, as we talked about liberating. This is a pretty good bishop. Still not a lot of moves, but we like this bishop because the pawns are mostly on dark squares. But we're talking about the fianchetto or fianchetto bishop, however you say it. Very effective. See how it just hides there? Once it moves, like say the knight's out of the way and you start blasting, see how it's hiding? It's hard to get rid of this guy. You have to try and set up some kind of queen battery, like say it's a position like this, and white's like, I hate this bishop, it's too strong. My bishop kind of sucks, so I'm going to try to exchange off my semi-bad bishop for this good bishop. And here, what you'll see players do is they'll say, nope, the bishop will drop back. Look at that. Look how hidden he is. And he keeps on the long diagonal. This is a little bit more advanced stuff, but we'll just touch on it quickly. If you've heard about the two bishops in theory are stronger than a bishop and a knight. Okay? So what you want to do is, if you have this kind of ending with the two bishops, you don't want to exchange any of these bishops unless you have a concrete reason, like winning a pawn or something. So what your plan is in the ending when you have the two bishops is start looking for the knight's operation bases and start taking them away. Like, for example, white would like to go there and attack here, but black has this. It stops it. That sort of thing. So you take away his base. And pawns on both sides of the board. Black is up a pawn here. This is a strategically won position. But it's advanced stuff, so I just thought it's worth mentioning, though. I'll just quickly show you the two bishops from hell.
I think it's that guy called Agadmator or whatever that chess channel is who calls them the two bishops from hell.
Yeah, Agadmator. He has a pretty good channel. So, and in the attack against the king, look at these bishops. Just blasting away at the king's side. So in this fictitious scenario, black goes here. He lines up to give checkmate. If you defend it like that, it's still checkmate. So white goes like that. And then black moves up a square and now utilizes the other bishop to threaten checkmate here or here. And in this position, there is no defense. Okay, here's something I see beginner players make too. Check out this bishop. See how fantastic it is? And here we have a knight that can't really move very far. That doesn't do anything. So anyway, you'll see sometimes the beginner player, for some reason, they'll be like, oh, I'm gonna go bishop take knight. So, in other words, you just exchanged off your fantastic bishop for some ho-hum knight. So don't be exchanging off your bad bishops. Just find your crappy ones and exchange them off. So in closing, at least even newer players use their bishops, unlike their rooks, which have cobwebs at the end of the game because they never move. So remember, especially if you're a London kind of player, let's show white. White decides to make the bad move, blocks in his bishop, but you can simply bring yours out. You can play the London kind of setup for black too. You bring your bishop out, white does something, and then remember what we talked about. Once the bishop is out, then you can put the pawn chain. The bishop is outside the pawn chain. It's not blocked in by its own pawn. And then the game continues, do some moves, and then castles. And you can put the bishop here too. Anyway, as we've talked about, this bishop here is fantastic. So if you look at the bishops, say white goes there. White's bishops, fantastic because they are not blocked by their own pawns, or if the pawns are kind of in their way, they're on the outside of the pawn chain, very important.